All right. Hey guys, we're on the road again. This is episode 3 of Realtors on the Road. In our last episode, we'll do a little recap here. We were lucky to have Rishab with us, and he's a first-time home buyer and an investor. So he wants to start building some net worth by buying rental properties in HRM. So if you missed that episode, make sure you get back and see it. We're really lucky today to have another celebrity with us, a guest star. You know, it's TedMisztela Realtor, it's Matt Morant Realtor, but now we have Matt Booth Media in the vehicle. Woo! Matt Booth Media, let's go. And I think I'll start off by just talking a little bit about how we happen to have this fine young gentleman in our car. I promise we didn't abduct him. He's here by his own free will. Isn't that right, Matt?
This is true.
Yeah, it better be true. This all started, we told our origin story in our first episode about how Matt and I had been with Royal LePage, and then we switched our licenses to EXP, and we started putting a real focus on building the real estate business. And part of that came with a commitment to delivering above average value with everything that we do. So every step of the buyer process, every step of the seller process, we tried to, sort of go through each phase of it and think, okay, how can we do better than what we did before? What can we learn from the past? What can we learn from leaders in our industry? What can we learn online? How can we just make this whole process better? Because we have a firm belief that if you can offer the most value possible, people will choose you. And that's one of our, I guess you'd say, values. One of our missions is provide more value than what the person's paying for. Mm-hmm. Then, obviously they become repeat customer and they refer you to all their friends and family. We love referrals. So we started getting super busy when we started putting the time into the real estate. And it required us to start reaching out. In the past, we had handled more of the media in-house with some select subcontractors, but we really needed to go out there and find someone who could, sort of take on all of our business and produce the type of product that we want to put out there in the world. Sorry, we're just driving to we're driving down to a photo shoot right now, and I'm terrible at thinking and driving. I just go on autopilot, but I can course correct. I know where I'm going now. So anyways, we talked to a couple different people, and for the first shoot that we were doing, it was a little bit out of town, and we came across Matt Booth Media, and we were really happy that he was willing to go to the shoot with us and provide us beautiful photography, a wonderful video, aerial, all the stuff to really make the listing look as enticing as possible to anyone that would potentially buy it. This listing had come up. The property had been on the market, but it was a bit of a disservice when you compare what Matt produced to what was what photos, and I'm not trying to talk any smack about the other realtor, but the photos were dark. They were taken with a older cell phone, and it just didn't do this property justice. All right, and we all know that depending on what wrapper you put things in, people will perceive more value. I mean, very simply, a ring in a box from Zales is going to have a different interpretation than a ring in a box from Tiffany's. Yep. The packaging matters, and we were really impressed with the samples of Matt's work, and then the real, quick to respond to us.
His first job, and I'll just throw this in there, the first set of photographs that you mentioned made a brand new home look old.
That's true.
And it was a brand new home, and
it's like 5 years old, but it ended up looking like 45 in the photo.
Not a single light was turned on for a single photo. There wasn't any thought given to what the image was intended to capture. It was just a bunch of random
Again, pictures. We're not going to name names here. No disrespect.
No, but it just points out the fact that there are different ways of doing things, and each different way of doing something can potentially give you a different outcome. And it was that higher value outcome that we were looking for, and Maddie delivered on that first go.
And some of the great stuff. One, easy to communicate with, responded right away to our inquiries, was quick to get on the phone, was there when he was supposed to be, and that's continued to go on with every job that we've done with him. And I mean, we're on, in the last 8 weeks, we're probably up to close to 9 or 10 videos that this guy's produced to us, or shots. I mean, like, he even did some media for our renovation company. So, again, we can't say enough good things about Matt Booth Media, and I think a little bit more of the story started at that house too, because unlike just like a normal sort of walkthrough, we talked to Matt about okay, can we do like 5 or 6 different takes at the beginning of this with a bunch of different intros, because we're going to run these as ads. Something that we do for our clients is we'll run YouTube targeted ads for their listings to get more attention on them. And he was really open to, sort of experiment with that. And he gave us, not just our normal video, but he gave us 5 versions of it. So he gave us a tremendous value there. And those 5 versions then got to go online and get tested against each other to see which version got more views and more clicks. And then that was the one that ultimately we went with to use for the listing video and for the ads. So anyways, Matt, that was our story. Matt Booth, that's our story about meeting you and how things get started. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how it was that we found you and how crazy we seemed. Like,
oh no, it's a couple more realtors coming for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty straightforward, because I was doing like freelance photo, video, and a lot of like different real estate work, and then you guys pretty much came out of nowhere and just reached out and said, hey, here's the plan, what do you think? And I happened to have the day off, so I was like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. And then, yeah, lucky enough that you guys had like a great plan, and I at least saw what you guys were going for, so that made it pretty easy to like get in and like actually accomplish what you guys needed, which I think you guys were super grateful for, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I think it was pretty just one morning it just began, and we haven't stopped.
Oh yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, right? Like you go from not knowing each other to all of a sudden it's like we're working together we're talking to each other a couple times a week, going on shoots. And I mean, like, there was one day, didn't you guys do like 3 different shots?
Yeah, we did.
3 different locations in one day.
Yeah, we were on a 12-hour tour.
Yeah, so that started down in Malaga Lake, stopped in
Shelburne.
Started in Shelburne,
then Malaga Lake.
Swing by Malaga Lake,
just for fun.
Stop by Mill Cove.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then that was 4 locations.
That was 3.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Didn't you go to Cole Harbor at the end of that day?
No, Cole Harbor got tagged on to another day that we were at.
Okay.
Or something.
Yeah, 4 would have been crazy.
Yeah.
So you're saying, Matt, that when people come to you with like a very clear plan and they know exactly what they want, that will lead to some more success if it's in line with some of the stuff that you like to do?
We shot Ian's place after we did the actual shoot at Malaga Lake.
Okay, gotcha.
There's been multiple trips to Malaga Lake. Beautiful property. You should definitely go check it out. There's videos on the channel.
Yeah, beautiful videos by Matt Booth Media.
Yeah.
So, Matt, why don't, like, we've been just blabbing on and talking about how we met. Why don't you tell us everything you can, and don't be shy, brag a bit, right? We love your work, so why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background, like just who you are, where you're from, how you got started, what got your interest in media, the steps you've taken to get to where you are, locked in the trunk of, willfully going for a drive with us today to work. Okay, so yeah, you get to it's all about you now. Tell us the Matt Booth Media story.
Okay, well, I think journey began probably in high school in Ontario, where I was from.
Oh, cool.
And I think at that point it was just like more fun. I just did it as like a hobby. I didn't really think career or like anything sort of along those lines. And I just did it with my friends, and we just went out and, you know, learned how to take photo and some video and stuff like that.
So like back then, like how long ago is that? Are we talking?
Probably about 10 years.
About 10 years ago. And what kind of a setup? Like what kind of gear were you on back 10 years ago? Because
just like, you know, Best Buy, just regular average Joe DSLR.
okay, yeah, entry-level DSLR,
Entry
cool.
level for sure. Like $200, like a birthday present type.
Yeah.
Yeah, like nothing crazy at all. But we always just thought it was like the coolest thing ever.
And then you obviously do all your own editing. Like what type of software would you use back then? Was it Photoshop?
So yeah, it's like a branch off of Photoshop. It's called Adobe Lightroom.
Lightroom, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, that's the one. And that's probably the only thing since I started that has like been consistent since day one.
Okay, so you still use Adobe software, it's Lightroom, and that thing you know inside and out because you've been using it for 10 years.
Definitely. Cool.
Okay, so that was when you got started. High school, you're running around with your Best Buy DSLR,
Yep.
you're downloading stuff. Jeez, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Working it out through Lightroom. Okay, cool. And then where did you end up going? What happened after that? After high school?
Yeah, so a bit of a plot twist, but post high school, I went off to another school in Ontario in Thunder Bay, and that was a flight school. So I went and studied aviation, and then got my commercial pilot's license.
You got your commercial pilot's license.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Totally unrelated.
That's really cool. What a surprise.
Yeah, definitely like.
Okay, and
bit out of left field.
how did you have family that were in that industry?
No, nothing. I think at the time I just like really wanted to like see the world and travel.
Oh.
And to me that was like the only way to do it would be to like get a job in that.
Gotcha.
And I mean, I went through it, it was great and I loved it, but when I finished was like when COVID started.
Oh, that's not the best timing.
No.
Okay.
So like everyone got laid off, nobody got jobs. And so that was kind of my, well, what am I doing? Like, how consistent is this? Is this actually reliable? Like, can I make a life doing this?
But you completed that, so that's something you have in your back pocket?
Yeah, that's like
crazy.
plan B or plan C or whatever at this point. But yeah, so then COVID started. I decided to take a little break from flying in school and go on a trip. And that's where I got like a couple of my first jobs were just like filming and shooting some like resorts and hostels and stuff like that for free stays.
Cool.
So that was like a sweet deal, and that definitely like got the wheels spinning for sure. And then I ended up coming home from that trip, and I didn't really know what to do because I mean still peak COVID, no flying jobs. So at that point I was kind of just like, okay, well, if I can't progress career-wise, let's just have fun. Like I'm still young, like early 20s. So
Yeah.
let's just go for it. So I moved out west into a little town on Vancouver Island.
Nice.
And pretty much just worked and had like as much fun as we could.
And were you working in the photography, videography field, or were you just like...
I was building decks.
Cool.
Yeah, so honestly I loved
Know
it.
a bit about
like it
that.
was quite fun. But I mean the photo stuff was still there. Like we still did that, but it was still
Building
like
decks.
fun.
I think he might be coming out to the vineyard with us to help build those decks, man. No? You're off the tools completely?
I mean, something.
You'll do the videos of the decks being built. Let's be honest. Yeah.
But yeah, so when I was living out west, we were in like a little coastal town, and surfing was kind of like a big thing there.
Sick.
So yeah, we really dove into like surf photo and surf video, which is ironic because that actually like got me more work and like more future promise than like any of the actual quote unquote jobs or deals that I'd ever had, just through like network and the people who were out there and the people who I was meeting.
Yeah.
And so I think I lived out there for 2.5 years, and then I came to visit my parents out east in Nova Scotia.
So yeah, because your parents had been in Ontario, and then they did the whole relocation thing.
Yeah. So they were Ontario people, and then when I was out west, they kind of had enough. And then again, peak COVID, like,
let's escape the virus and go to Nova Scotia where it's safe.
Yeah.
So many people at that time made that same decision because we had gotten such great media. Like, we're talking like international media about being the safest place. People were saying it was the safest place, lowest number of cases almost in the world, let alone like maybe some Tibetan monks. Over that time, we'd brought in, like there was a year there that out of like 20 deals, 10 of them were all people moving into Nova Scotia from other provinces to escape, right?
Yep.
So we're right there with you. So your parents come while you're out west, and then you decide to come pay them a visit.
Yeah, pay them a visit, and then I was still like super into surfing at that point. We ended up getting like a nice little hurricane wave day, and I kind of like freaked out a little bit because it was like just incredibly good, and I had like no idea. Like, it's like a pretty well kept little secret.
It is.
And so yeah, I like knew I definitely like wanted to be here and build more of a life here. So throughout that winter, because I came from out west and everything was like inconsistent home life, like I didn't really have a place to live, didn't really have a job, so I ended up traveling that winter and coming back in the spring, which was last year, so 2023.
Okay.
And then midsummer, I found a place to live up in Cow Bay. And then, it was just all, like, I mean, once I found the place, it was more just like, okay, let's work. Obviously, you gotta pay for this place. And so the options were to go back into flying or kind of like give it a shot, starting your own business, doing the whole self-employed
So cool, man.
gig.
So cool.
And so I just went for it. And slow start, but it picked up, and I think things like turned out better than I ever would have thought.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Which is like, I don't know, it like blows my mind like every day.
Yeah, so like essentially from when you started, why don't you tell us, because like business development, we're always interested in business growth and business development, right? And so like, and we also feel like when we talk to people in business and then any of our own experiences, if it's something that, is worthwhile and that can be shared with younger people starting out, then maybe like, the trials and tribulations that we go through or that we've gone through over our careers and that you've gone through over, your short year already, maybe there are some lessons that can be learned there for people watching, listening, that they can, then accelerate their process and maybe learn the lessons without making the mistakes that some of us have made, get the lesson without the scar. So the, you just decide, okay, well, I'm going to start my video photo business and like my media business. How did you start off? What was your first initial offering? How did you say, okay, it's day one, what do I do? Like, how did you get leads for your business? How did you start booking jobs? Like, tell us all about that. Like, what was like the first month, like, okay, oh shit, I'm in business now, what do I do? And right, like, and where did you get the ideas for how to grow, and what did the growth look like? Was it just slow and steady, or did it just like all of a sudden blow up on you? So walk us through sort of, business wise, the first year, how that went.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different almost like stages to it. So the start, I mean, the first goal was, and like throughout my travels, I'd saved up a bit of money to kind of like start this venture, or at least give myself a little bit of time where it was like I wasn't working full time.
Smart.
So I had every day of the week to just fully commit to something. So the idea was, step one was to be able to just cover expenses. And that's where I decided real estate was probably the best option, just due to like volume and consistency. and I felt like it would be like a pretty reliable way to just cover the bases and then go from there. Like, not a whole lot of like end goal or direction. I just knew where to start. So yeah, I started that, and then the first bit.
And was that like in terms of sort of like what you do for us, sort of like the standard like photos, video tour, the floor ID, the 3D walkthrough, the floor plan, stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So how did you start getting found by realtors? I know I found you on Instagram.
Yeah.
Right? That was how I found you. How did, or did you just like reach out to a bunch of realtors?
I did all the reaching out. Yeah.
Okay.
So the first step is like, and I think personally, like my first step is like always the network, like who you know and who your friends know and who your parents know, and basically anyone who you could get introduced to easily, and then just, you know, make like a personal connection there. And if you can help them, you can help them, and if you can't, maybe they know somebody. I don't know. Nova Scotia is also a pretty unique place where people just want to help you.
Yeah.
For no reason, and I love it. So
no, that's what we hear. You know, so many people that come from away, once we get them settled, they start telling us how, yeah, like my neighbor saw me out doing this, and they just came over and did it with me, because that's the type of people Nova Scotians are.
Yeah.
They just want to help, and you know, they see young dudes starting up his business, you know, being brave, going out there. They're like, yeah, we'll support them. But you know, what you said there is something that I preach to everyone who's trying to do something. You know, we like to sort of label the different ways you can tell people about your stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And there's really 4 ways. And it's broken down into like people you know and people you don't know.
Okay.
And then it's also broken down into, you know, like, is it one communication that's one-to-one, or communication that's one-to-many, right? So, you know, essentially your starting point is the most logical starting point for anyone, which is sort of like a warm outreach. You know, you try to get to people that you either know, or there's like 1 degree of separation, somebody who you know, who knows who you know, right? And then you start off with that sort of warm outreach, and you get the message out like, hey, you know, this is Matt Booth. I've got this background. I'm starting to do this. If you know anyone that needs some help, we'd love to help people. And that's really cool. That's how you get started. So
so I got a couple from that.
Nice.
And that kind of became like, that's where like the fire got lit, and it was like definitely a slow burn. You know, like every couple or every week or two, you'd go and shoot a place, and if they were happy, a lot of them like referred them to the next client and their coworkers and stuff like that, and then it kind of started to like snowball from there. I have got some just people reaching out to me more and more these days, but at the start, no one really knows about you, so that's kind of like difficult. But yeah, it was almost exclusively for the first 6 months, either a warm reach out or a referral.
And did you ever get into the more sort of like cold outreach where, you know, you've got this list of realtors, you got their phone numbers, you just start calling realtors and introducing yourself and being like, hey, I've got this, you know, when cold outreach is done, and this is just, I just love studying this shit and then talking about it, but one of the most important things is like, you know, everybody has such limited time, and we get called as realtors by so many people, right? So when you are trying to talk to anyone for that matter, knowing that time is like the biggest commodity, right? You know, if you can show them some really big, fast value as early as possible, right? Like if you had no business at all, it would make sense to like do a few at half price just to get your foot in the door, right? Do them for free. Get your name out there, right? And like, you know, if you called up a realtor, if you had no business, if you weren't where you were now, right? And you were trying to break it into it in your city, like, hey, look, all I'm looking for, look, I'll do this for free, 100% for free. All I'm looking for is a testimonial if I do a good job, okay? And if I don't do a good job, if you can just give me some, you know, feedback, some things I can improve on. Tell me
what made it not a good job.
And then eventually, right, after you've done a few of those, then you'll get some testimonials. That'll eventually get you business. And, you know, the feedback will make you better, right? So really, in a way, like, yes, you're doing it for free, but what is your time worth when you have never done it before?
Yeah, and I mean, like, at the same time, like, nothing is free. So it's like you're doing it for quote-unquote free. Like, I'm getting $0 back, but you are getting a return. Like, you're getting a bigger network, you're getting advice, you're getting insight from people who have been there through the years. And if you do a great job, you're probably going to get A, business, and B, referrals from it. So it actually,
Amazing.
like, free
Smart
work,
kid, eh?
free work a lot of the time will make you more money than paid work.
And
in the long term.
No offense to any certain generation at all, but sometimes there are people that we've run into that are your age that they have the opposite mentality.
Yeah.
I need you to pay me twice as much before I do anything of value.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try my hardest until you pay me more, right? And it just sort of it's a head scratcher for me, and I don't know if it's the participation award generation, if that's it, like, or if it's the wealth of, because an awful lot of people that are, between 20 and 30, their parents own property and, have made money, and there's a lot of wealth, right? I think that, there's an awful lot of kids that, and not every kid that comes from wealth is spoiled. I'm not trying to stereotype like that, but sometimes the work ethic isn't the same.
Yeah, definitely. I really wish I understood that more, or where the thought process is there.
Entitlement, yeah.
You're trying to make money, but I think that's more of a short-term band-aid, where it's I just want money now. But if you're really looking to build a life, you got to play the long game.
Yeah.
And I feel
100%.
That's just instant gratification, whereas I can't remember if I did your first one for a deal or not, but
I think what you ended up doing, I think you threw in some extra value there, where it was you had to do some extra editing, and it was going to take you some extra time, but you didn't charge us for that.
Yes.
And that was a really nice, oh my gosh, look at this, look, you threw this in.
Yeah.
But along the way, there's been lots of times where you could have charged us more and you didn't.
Yeah.
So again, exceptional value for price from Matt Booth. He definitely has to put up his prices though for everyone else but us, because he's doing such great work. Really cool. So, okay, first 6 months is mostly warm outreach.
Yep.
The business, it starts building. There's a couple here, a couple there.
Yep.
And what do you think, for in terms of from that method, what did it build up to in terms of real estate shoots? What was your busiest week? Do you remember the most houses you did in 1 week, or
probably 9 or 10.
9 or 10 in a week? Wow,
yeah.
That's a pretty solid week.
Yeah, there were some pretty heavy weeks, and one of the people. So after the warm outreach was done, I ended up doing cold outreach.
Okay, so you took that on.
Yeah, and pretty inefficient, and it really for the most part wasn't great. However, I don't think cold outreach is to blame for that. I think a lack of my understanding on how to properly do it.
So how many dials do you think you made?
Probably, honestly, not that many. Probably 100.
Made 100 dials.
And I maybe got 2, maybe 1 or 2.
Okay.
And one of them ended up being someone who does a lot of new developments in the valley.
Okay.
So yeah, there were days when it was just get there in the morning, and then I went home at 5 or whatever, and it was just house to house.
You just shot all day.
Yeah. And then that one was great, and I ended up getting a ton of referrals from that.
So even though it was only 1 out of 100, that one produced a bunch of jobs, and it also produced a bunch of referrals.
Yeah.
So that's one way to look at it. Now, do you think out of those 100 dials, how many actual conversations do you think you had? Do you remember?
Maybe 20, 15 to 20.
15 to 20.
Maybe 25.
So we
Not
say...
that many. It was pretty low hit rate.
Yeah, that's not that bad though. See, that's the thing, that's where the misunderstanding for a lot of people doing cold outreach, knowing the numbers behind it and what is successful.
Right.
And same thing when you do email marketing.
Yep.
Knowing, if 25% of people open your email, that's actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
Right? Which thinks, right? And, we've changed, we're trying to shift more towards a text-based marketing platform ourselves, because texts get opened so much more frequently than emails, right? But knowing sort of like standards, what a good, what's a good conversation rate out of a number of calls, and that changes by industry, right? Because realtors actually should pick up their phone even when they don't know the number. One phone call for a realtor can be anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 commission. It's like realtors are ones that really, they need to answer that phone every single time. But the conversion rate for a cold outreach, like getting 2 out of 100 and maybe 10%, like if 20 people answered and you got 2 people actually signed off to do work, that's 10% of the actual conversations you had. Like, I actually think, not bad. Now, you got to think, how many realtors are there actually in Nova Scotia, right? Maybe 2,100, and how many of them are in the area that you service? I don't know, maybe 1,200, right?
Yeah.
So if you weren't so busy now and you were still doing that probably would have been productive. And then it's also the question of, okay, yeah, I called, I had 75 of these guys I didn't get in touch with. Well, maybe when I call them tomorrow, maybe when I call them the next day. But it's something that is really uncomfortable at first.
Oh, it's horrible.
And that you suck at, and that you're terrible at. But it's a skill like any other skill, I think. And, the more repetitions that you do, the better you get. And something that we've been saying back and forth to each other is that everything you want is on the other side of the word no. Mm-hmm. So the more times you can hear the word no, and then just keep on plugging, hear the word no, and it sucks. It's like, you're like, oh, they said no, I'm a loser, and blah, 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 I'm never going to, but once you build up your armor to hearing no, and, at the end of the day, what have you lost? Nothing. No. Yeah, they said no to me. Whatever, there's more than that one opportunity, right? So that's that's one of those lessons that this is going to be tight here. I'm going to slow right down. I'm not going to drive over this biker.
Yeah, we won't drive over the biker.
He's got those big, what do you call those? Saddlebags? Yeah.
Yeah, I think a big way, I think if I was to do it again, I think I would triple the hit rate, just knowing not even how to go about it, but I think it's a huge kind of mindset perspective thing, and how you're viewing this cold call.
Yeah.
At the start, it was, okay, how do I get business and how do I pay my rent? But now, personally, the biggest deal I've ever done, we've just started last week, and that was through cold outreach. Okay. And I think it was more, it's being really clear on somebody else's problem and being able to clearly communicate how you can solve that and how you can help them. Yeah. And I think if you approach it in a way where it's okay, I'm genuinely trying to help you. Obviously I'm gonna benefit off of this, but this is how I'm gonna benefit you, and this is why it's worth it to you. And I find if you can effectively communicate that, and you can show how everyone is gonna win, everyone loves winning, so you'll usually just get a lot more that way.
Yeah, leading with that type of value, right? Yeah. And just what can we give? How can we help? What can we give, right? Yeah. Just leading with, and it's funny because you give, and some people have this theory of you give, and then you ask. So it's 3 gives to 1 ask. Yep. That's sort of and it's something that you can see this sort of ratio across a lot of different platforms. If you think about a television show, right? Their giving is the show, the content. Yep. Their ask is when they play an ad and they take away your attention for the purpose of selling something, right? Yep. There's normally 45 minutes of show and 15 minutes of ads. Right? So if you think about that, that's that sort of 3-to-1 ratio of give, ask. Also, too, if you're scrolling through Facebook, you'll see sort of like 3 or 4 posts before an advertisement, 3 or 4
Okay.
posts before an advertisement, because they've studied this so much to know that, like, look, if they only give you 2 pieces of content before they give you an ad, they're going to start losing people on their platform because, like, too many ads, I'm not going to go on there, right? So they've got it down, and, you know, people way smarter than us who know a lot more about the algorithm are sitting there in rooms analyzing this, and they're like, this is this is like optimized. We can, because, you know, they get paid for their ad dollars, so they want to get as much in there. But, you know, where we're not Facebook or mainstream media, I think it's like you just got to keep on giving and giving and giving, and, you know, eventually, you know, people, when they see that you're just trying to help them, like you said, they're going to want to get into business with you, and that will help you in the long run. But really, what really helps in the long run is delivering that amazing service that you get known for. That's like, okay, you got to go with Matt, or you got to go with Ted and Matt, because those guys are going to do everything they can to help you reach your dream outcome.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's get that there.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Woohoo.
Tune in for the next one. Hey everybody, we are back on the road after a really nice shoot down in Mill Cove. Really nice little community down just outside of Hubbard's, St. Margaret's Bay. Can't wait for you to see the listing video that comes out of that. Matt did a heck of a job. What are your thoughts on that one, Matt?
I like that one. Oceanfront, which makes it really easy for me to make it look good.
Yep.
It's pretty sweet. And then, yeah, so we just went through and we did some listing photos and then a bit of a talking video. Nice catch.
Nice catch.
That has Matt kind of telling us kind of the highlights and the, like, reasons why and who this is for, and to kind of summarize that video. So it'll be a bit of a walkthrough of the house, and then Matt will take us through kind of the, like, big points where it's kind of hard to show, like, location and amenities through the video. So Matt will kind of narrate through those.
Yeah, it was a neat one.
Yeah. And then at the end of that, we do a little 3D tour and walkthrough, and then a floor plan, and then finish off with some drone stuff, and that way you can get a pretty good idea of kind of just the area and what's around.
Yeah, the drone work these days is pretty amazing. You guys can't see it, but we're driving by a really neat little development here. Potential client building some really neat condo townhouses right on the water. Anyway, back to this. I always find the shooting the videos, it's exciting. It tires you out more than you expect.
Yeah.
Needing to say words in front of a camera can be sorry, I got distracted. Apparently I'm not I'm a terrible podcast host. I just got off camera, now I'm back on camera.
Are you camered out, Matt?
No, I'm not totally camered out. Matt, is there anything that you find different or that you like about what Ted and I do in terms of how we approach the media and the story that we try to tell?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not just gonna say it because you guys are here. Like, I'll actually tell the viewer the truth here. But
should we be worried?
Yeah,
No,
he's
here
gonna.
we go.
Is
We're
this a good,
having a
be
moment of
terrified.
truth.
terrified moment of truth? Oh shit!
the way Ted and Matt go about it is that they're really, like, they're trying to sell your house, but more than that, they're trying to, like, the whole idea is to keep the client pleased. And, you know, whether that means a quick sale or, you know, there's different aspects of the listing that are more important to sellers and buyers. Ted and Matt are like, they're there for the full experience. Like, they're really there for you. like they're not just there to make a quick dollar, which is really nice. When in today, it's like it's pretty easy to just, sweet, good commission. Let's try and juice every penny out of this. Like it's really a customer based focus.
Yeah, and I think
admire
that
a lot.
yeah, and
Thanks, buddy.
I think part of that is the when we all sort of hooked up and started working together, that idea of trying to use the media to tell a deeper story about the property, to try to not only showcase what the property has to offer. A buyer would certainly need to know about things like number of bedrooms, bathrooms, what the place looks like, but we try to do it in a way that lets a potential buyer maybe start the process of falling in love with a property, right? Trying to highlight not only some of the unique aspects of a home, but some of the things that made previous homeowners love their properties, right?
Yeah, you guys really thrive on keeping it just genuine and personal, and instead of like trying to like sell a house, you're really showing how it's like it's more than that. Like it's a home, not just a house.
Yeah.
And not everyone's has 10 properties, so it's like people who have the one property, and this is their life. Like they're going home to that every night, and I think you guys actually understand that, which often gets overlooked.
Yeah, well, something that I've sort of talked about, sorry to our viewers for the camera repositioning here on constant, but we're just not quite in position there today. I don't know. It was one of the very first real estate transactions I was involved in, and it sounds like a bunch of words, but really it's the truth. These things that we're going to look at buying, these things that we're going to look at putting on the market, yes, there are properties. There's grounds, there's buildings, there's, the regular things that make up a property. But maybe the bigger thing is, or the point that can really drive it home is that, homes are where, this is going to sound really obvious, but homes are where you live, right? Homes are where you make your memories. Homes are where you take your meal. It's where you go home at the end of the day to rest, so you can go back out into the wild the next day. And the process of not only selling a home, buying a home, you have to really understand that that's what you're doing with your client, right? If someone has a home that they've lived in for a very long time, and there are parts of the property or experiences that the person has had that, have made that place be their home, sometimes that's interesting to know about, right? Sometimes the stories and the memories that are created there can help to create the ideas of the possible stories and memories a new person's going to make at a property, right? So, no, I like that, and we try our best with our media to capture that and show it off. And you've really sort of bought into that with us. One of the things that we've taken to trying to do when we can, where we can with a listing, is to get a little bit of footage from the seller client and touch on some of those emotional points that are more than just floors and doors and windows. We're having a really tough time with this one today.
Yeah, you want to pause that for a sec?
And we're back.
No, I agree. Like, some of the descriptions that previous owners gave, hearing it from the person that lived there and experienced those feelings, it's you can hear the emotional connection in their voice when we get them on camera, and just that one question asking what you're going to miss the most. I mean, like most of these people that we're interviewing for this audio overlay, they're almost in tears when they're telling these stories because it sinks in. Like, I think that might be part of it too. It's like, oh wow, you know what? Why is this guy asking me what I'm going to miss the most? It finally sinks in that they're going to, if we succeed at doing what they want us to do, they're going to be handing over the keys and walking away, and that's
but I mean,
that's a big deal.
It's one thing to go and hang a sign and tell people that, look, you know what, the doorknobs are really nice. There's a nice light in the kitchen. The floors look great, and do those. But imagine having the chance to sell a property and you weren't able to tell your potential audience about the 2 or 3 things that, like you say, nearly have sellers in tears talking about how much they enjoyed a spot, right? So I think it's a matter of being aware of your audience and how you want to try to reach them, and days like this one with Matt Booth Media, that's how we do it. I'm really excited for you guys to see what we turn out with this one.
Yeah, I'm sure that this will be another absolute banger of a video. Matt, thanks so much for your work today. Thanks for the job today, and of course, thanks for joining us for a little talking in the car. What we'll do is we'll drop your socials into the description of this video, so that when we put it on YouTube, if anyone wants to reach out that wants some help, with any type of media when you're not too busy, assuming that you're not booked for us, we'll spread the good word, and we'll also cut this up into some clips if you want to use it for your social media, right? It might be good for your audience to see you talk about your story and tell it and get to know you a little bit more.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Wonderful.
Until next time.